And we're back.
Woohoo!
Welcome back to the Auto Authorities Podcast. My name is Jay Grossman. I am the CEO and founder of iAutoAgent.com. And this is Mr.
David Marks with Quality Auto Repair and Tire.
Welcome back. We have an amazing show. Can you imagine that? We have an amazing show. Listen closely. If you've heard anything you've been hearing about EVs and electric vehicles, and that's kind of the buzzword we're hearing now, we're going to go through the pros and cons. We're going to bring some things to your attention that you may not have known. Ooh. Are you ready to do this, Mr. David Marks?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride when buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay.
And I'm Dave.
And this is the podcast that tells you what to watch out for, whether you're buying, selling,
or repairing your car.
With 47 years of automotive experience, we are the Automotive Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent. We're real estate agents for cars.
And Quality Auto STL. Trusted services with no surprises.
Boom!
Booyah!
Welcome back to the Auto Authorities Podcast. We are talking about, are we ready for EV vehicles, which stands for electric vehicles. We're going to go through the pros and cons, and we're going to bring some things to your attention that you may not have known. But before we get going, I would like to thank our sponsor, Podcastify.me. That's Podcastify.me. They make this beautiful show for over a year and a half now. We have been going strong. And thank you to Podcastify.me. And if you are just tuning in, and let's just say you're on YouTube, click that subscribe button. You'll be alerted for all of our podcasts through YouTube. You also can click the notification button, and boy, oh boy, it will just pop into your life every single time about the Auto Authorities Podcast. And if you want to watch us live, go to our Facebook group page, the Auto Authorities Podcast, and you can watch us live at 12 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday and just spend some time with us. And we are getting tons of questions. Please go to the AutoAuthorities.com. That's the AutoAuthorities.com to make sure if you have any questions you want answered, you send it to us. We'll answer them. And again, my name is Jay Grossman. I'm the founder and CEO of iAutoAgent. We are real estate agents for people's cars. We take care of the selling process for you, keeping you in control the whole time. We market, we list, we show your car at no cost to you and take care of that money transaction. We even help you navigate the entire buying process nationwide, keeping you in control the entire time. And you don't have to move forward till you approve the deal. We'll do all the heavy lifting for you. And this is my co-host, Mr. David Marks. And Dave, really happy to see you. I want to make sure, because we have done a little bit of a name change, Quality Auto Repair and Tire. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you know, we're all about integrity. We're about transparency. But we also want to bring to your attention when there are issues that are going on right now. And this is kind of the EV electric vehicle debate. And, you know, where to start, Dave? You know, we know that Ford is getting in the electric vehicle game. And what did they build? 2 plants in Kentucky, 1 in Tennessee?
Yeah, they're working on that. GM is retooling 2 plants and building 2 from the ground up. And, you know, the big boys GM and Ford haven't built a new assembly plant in decades and decades. Like Rivion's plant is an old Mitsubishi Chrysler plant that they're using in Normal, Illinois, where the Rivion's made. That's an old Mitsubishi plant.
So I'm going to stop you real quick. Let's let everybody know what Rivian is, because some people may not know what that is.
Oh. They're another EV startup. You know, I mean, Tesla proved that it can be done. Elon Musk, I mean, my hat's off to him. I mean, he's done something that hasn't been done in decades. and that's and it's one of the hardest things to do is get into the automobile manufacturing process. And so there's Lucid. There's a Vietnam company that's going to build a factory in one of the Carolinas, South Carolina, is a Vietnamese company. They're backed by the Vietnam billionaire who's got very deep pockets. And there's Lucid, and there's some other ones too. I can't think of, but at the same time, Ford and GM, the big boys, are getting in it too, and they have deep pockets. They have the infrastructure already in place. Chrysler does, Ford does, General Motors does, Hyundai and Kia do, and then you got Volkswagen, who's number 2 worldwide, and then Toyota's lagging behind. I think Toyota's the smart ones. Them and Honda are, because they're going more hybrid than EV, and if you want my opinion, we should go all hybrid, not all gas and or electric, because neither one of them, EVs, either all EV or all gas, is not environmentally friendly at all. It's not. The best way is to complement, which would be not a plug-in hybrid, but a gas hybrid. I mean, and it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a dogfight. And then you got, I have an iPhone. Apple wants to get into the game too. And who's next behind them? Is Google going to want to get into this? Is Amazon going to want to get into this? I know Amazon's placed a large order with Rivian. They're one of the largest stakeholder in Rivian's Amazon, and then Ford's number 2. Yeah, Amazon's got a 20% stake in Rivian.
Wow, that is actually something I didn't know.
Ford had a 12% stake, but they sold a bunch. When Ford started selling their stock in Rivian, their stock tanked.
Interesting.
Yeah, because there was a big battle in 2019 whether Ford or GM was going to be a big investor in that company, because I believe they were going to co-share. A lot of people share technology. Chrysler and Mitsubishi did it, Ford and Mazda, General Motors and Toyota. Honda's invested a lot of money in GM's Cruise, which is an EV subsidiary of General Motors, have collaborated because it just keeps the cost down. But Ford and Rivian said, no, we're not going to co-share nothing. And then Ford has sold a lot of their stock. And I forget how many shares, but at one time they owned a 12% stake in Rivian. Amazon's at 20. And then I'm trying to think who else. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. But it's been crickets out of the Chrysler or Stellantis, which the parent company for what used to be the Chrysler Corporation, about what they're doing. Toyota's been crickets out of that camp. Honda said we want to go hybrid. So yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot to talk about on who's doing what.
It sounds like a bloodbath. That's exactly what it sounds like. I didn't realize there were that many players. So where does Tesla come in?
Well, Tesla's king right now. But once the big boys start getting into the game, and when I think so, Tesla's in the luxury space. He's number 1 luxury in the U.S. market, which I'm dumbfounded he is. But hey, my hat's off to him. Is once Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Audi, Volkswagen's Audi brand, start pumping electric vehicles off the line, that's going to cut into his market share big time, because look, Google Tesla's service complaints, and their service is horrible. They don't have the infrastructure to service the vehicle after the sale. Unlike Mercedes, Audi, and BMW, they have the infrastructure to take care of the customer after the sale.
Well, let's talk about a couple things in that point real quick. Let's talk about the raw materials that it takes to build an EV vehicle.
China owns it all.
What'd you say?
China's got a big stake in all the raw materials. We're Chinese dependent for EVs.
Interesting.
No.
So I also think what you're saying is something very, very important. And this is really, really big. Number 1, the service after the sale, that is how dealerships make the bulk of their money. And now Tesla, they've got, a few service centers, and they're not like these really fancy places. They're like these kind of hole in the wall, like warehouse type of underground type of operations. And then, what's going to happen, and from my reading, is that number one, you're going to have these service centers that GM and Ford can just pop up. And
they've already got the infrastructure in place. They've already got everything in place. They don't need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to service.
no.
Tesla sends out these little mini mobile vans, which is an ICE engine, by the way, that they use. I've seen them here in the St. Louis market. They're little Ford Transits that say Tesla service. So they're not even using their own vehicles for their mobile service. No, they're using a Ford Transit, which is burning gas.
Interesting. And I actually agree with you on the, as far as our environment goes, but a hybrid is going to get you 40 miles to the gallon or more.
We'll just talk about the 2022 F-150, the 2021 F-150 hybrid. A two-wheel drive version would get 900 miles on the tank of gas.
That's insane.
That's nuts. If I'm, and the four-wheel drive was like 75 miles below it. So the F-150 Lightning, I think, has an EPA estimated the bigger battery of like 320 miles. If I'm a truck guy and I'm walking into a truck, because remember, the gas hybrids have half the maintenance a traditional gasoline engine has, and you're not dependent on a charging station. You don't have to have pay an electrician and get a permit to put a home charging station in, because you want to put a home charging station in. At least here in St. Louis, where me and Jay live, we have to call the local municipality, get permission, pay a licensed electrician that's bonded, insured. That's not cheap. Getting a licensed electrician to install a home charging station is how much does that cost? And then you got to jump through all those hoops when you can just buy a hybrid and you just fill up every so often you go. It's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Dave. And actually, one of my buddies, Tim, he came to our iAuto agent. He came to use our buyer's agent program about 3 or 4 months ago, and he literally has an SUV, and he spends $16 to fill it up, basically with a full tank of gas.
Is it a plug-in hybrid or is it a gas hybrid?
Well, I think it's a plug-in.
A plug-in hybrid?
Mm-hmm. I think so, but I'm not positive. But it was just amazing. And what it really does is it puts things in perspective. My question is what do you do in your business to do a pivot to handle these not the hybrid, but these electric vehicles when they do start hitting?
Yeah, I have no idea yet. I mean, that's I really don't. They're going to need steering and suspension. We've had one Tesla in here, and we had their highs. It was a big SUV that they make. I forget what it's called. I don't know. And
the Model X.
The Model X. Yeah, we had one in here, and it's got steering and suspension. It's got brakes. They're going to eat tires because the thing weighs 10,000 pounds. And so they're going to need. So I think for guys like me, we need to really focus on the tire business, the steering suspension business, and brakes, wheel bearings, and stuff like that. And we'll get there. I mean, I'm not worried about it. We'll get there and we'll survive it. Gasoline cars aren't going away too, because like we've talked about in other episodes. What price range do people ask about more than any other price range? It's not a Tesla price range. It's under 10K and under. So, what are those people going to do for transportation? They're going to buy what we're still working on. And, they're not going to buy, for them to buy an EV, the battery's going to be dead. By the time they're not going to buy it.
Hopefully they don't do a cash for clunkers type of thing. If you want an EV, just get rid of your gasoline car and we'll just
who knows? No, they want to incentivize that. The Biden administration has thrown all kinds of stuff around about different incentives, and I don't know. I know enough about that to be dangerous. I don't know all the facts about that, so I don't want to talk about that, go down that rabbit hole, because I'm not educated enough. But I know the climate change package just passed the Senate. I haven't read through it. It's got to go through the House. But I don't know enough. I know there's a lot of stuff in there for EVs, but what I don't know.
Well, let's talk about the costly repairs, like as far as if you're in an accident. So this is a big deal with these EVs, such as Tesla. I'm using Tesla for example, and this is where I think Tesla's in trouble, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So let's just say, hypothetically, something happens to a Tesla. Let's just say it's as simple as a bumper. These vehicles, number one, these body shops, they have to get the parts from Tesla, number one. And number two, getting the parts from Tesla is taking 6 to 7 months to fix these vehicles. So these body shops have these vehicles in there for months for these minor repairs. And I even had a client of ours that had bought a Tesla and the window got busted out and they had to drive around without a freaking window for months. Like, can you imagine? Like, oh, I bought a Tesla. Oh, that's a really cute Tesla. What's the plastic there? Oh, that's my window.
Oh, well, I talked to an insurance agent and she told me that one, if the battery gets damaged, they total the car, because you got to remember. So if when a car gets into an accident and insurance pays it, insurance is now liable for those repairs after it's fixed. So if they fix an EV battery, they're liable for that battery repair. So they don't want that liability. So they just total the car when it gets damaged. Well, what are they going to do to insurance rates on an EV? They're going to go through the roof because they got to add that cost for replacement into what they charge you for insurance. And she said, you better have hazmat insurance, because if you get into an EV accident and that battery stuff leaks out on the ground, well, the EPA or the fire department, they'll clean it up, but you're going to get stuck with a big bill.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I did not know that they were responsible after.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We see it. I see it here. I get people that go to the body shop, and I just had a lady that, their car was making some weird noise and it was just got fixed out of the body shop. And I said, I think this is a body noise. Take it back. No, insurance companies are responsible for repairs after they do them.
Wow. Well, I do know, and you brought up a good point. I talked to my buddy Dave, who's an insurance agent, and he's like, oh yeah, like prices are through the roof
to insure an EV. Yeah, it's almost makes it non-cost effective when your insurance doubles. Yeah. I mean, you said they double.
Yeah, and you have to, and this goes back to so many of the episodes that we've done in the past. When you're going out there and you're going to buy a car, you've got to look at your budget, and your budget isn't just what your monthly payment is. Your budget is your insurance. Your budget is, hey, you got to figure the car's going to break, so there's going to be maintenance, some type of maintenance.
We have property tax in the state of Missouri on cars.
Yeah. Yep. You have all those things. You really have to take that into account. Yeah, it saves a ton without having to do gas. But here's another issue is not only are charging stations limited, so there's very few charging stations around.
Especially here in the St. Louis area, I don't see them.
I don't think we're ready. I don't think we're ready for the influx of electric vehicles. Did I ever tell you my story? Story time, everybody.
That's a little early for story time, but okay.
Oh, no, it's a good story.
It's always story. It's always time for story time.
So we had a Tesla in our system, and I'm like, I'd like to drive that for a little while. Obviously you can do that when you're the owner of the company. So I'm like, I don't have a charging station, but it had plenty of miles. Like, it was fully charged, and I was driving around, and I was actually staying with my mother-in-law at the time because our house was being built. So I have it parked in the driveway, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the family for a ride. And our house was being built, and we were about 30 minutes away from the house that was being built. Like, you know what? Let's all get
30 minutes one way, 30 minutes each way.
Yeah, 30 minutes each way.
Okay.
So we get in the car, and I had been driving a while. It had like 80 miles, like, and this is like, maybe a 20-mile drive. So I figure I'm going to have plenty of charge, and then I can go just take it, at my own leisure to go get it charged at one of the charging stations. I would just find a charging station. So this is in August of 2020, and it's about 100 degrees outside. And we pop on the air. My son's in the in the passenger side and playing with the radio and like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. It's like an iPad, Dad. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. And we got the air conditioning going and we're driving, and all of a sudden I'm like, it's like all the gas, or not the gas, the charge is going. I'm like, oh wait, what? We're at 40 miles. I have only gone 5 minutes. And I'm like, holy crap. So of course I don't have a charging station anywhere. So then I start looking for charging stations, and it's not the easiest thing to find. That's the thing, is you can't just go on there and like, oh, here's a charging station. You have to have the Tesla app. Well, I didn't have the Tesla app, and I'm sitting there trying to call the person that sold it to us, just the call you want, right? If you're him. And like, hey man, like, I don't know what it is, but like this thing's going to run out of charge. And I've got my 80-year-old mom in the back seat, my wife, my son, we're all in there. And then I get on the phone and he's like, well, what do you have on? I'm like, well, we have the radio, we have the air conditioning on.
Everything that you'd expect to be able to use. Everything.
Yeah. And so he's like, turn all that stuff off. I'm like, oh yeah, this is just going to be really
in August. If people don't know, August in St. Louis, it's 100 degrees.
Right. So I'm sitting here driving the thing, and I mean, I am freaking out. He's like, listen, the closest one to you is in St. Charles, which is probably about a 20-minute drive. So I either have a choice. I can go there, or I can go run out of charge at my new house. So then, of course, we go all the way out to St. Charles trying to find this place. And it's not just like a normal charging place. It is like literally a parking lot with three Tesla charging things on it. And I've never done this before. So I'm backing it up to the thing, and I'm watching the gal that she's charging her car, 2 cars over. I plug it in, and the thing's flashing orange, and I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, it's like on the phone with 911. It's like, okay, what do I do now? And he's like, well, I've never seen that before. I'm like, oh, great, it's broken. Yeah. So then I'm trying to figure this out. He goes, well, then why don't you take it out and put it back in? And then of course it turns green. So I'm thinking, I'm used to filling up with gas. Gas takes
5 minutes,
2 to 3 minutes tops. And so I'm sitting there, and it's going boop, 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 like 1 mile at a time. And it says estimated time, 1.5 hours. Say what? So that's a problem. We're sweating our asses off. And my son's like no fun to be around, teenager. And we're like trying to go over to the Schnucks grocery store to get waters. Like we're sweating. Like this is not fun. So, I just don't think we're ready for it. I don't. The charging stations are not there. I've got so much other stuff to talk about too. So you had a Tesla there, and you basically can do kind of normal maintenance then, Dave?
Yeah, he had a bent wheel. One of his wheels was bent. Yeah, I don't know how. He ended up I never called Tesla here to St. Louis market to see if I could buy from them. I didn't. People just told me, other people in this business, they don't sell to shops. They don't. So I don't know what happened to it. He talked about he could buy a 4 set of wheels and tires on the internet because people swap them out or something. I don't know. I didn't go down to, I thought about calling down there to the Tesla service center and go, do you guys have a parts department? Can I buy a wheel? Because, I have a tire machine, I have a latest and greatest from Snap-on, and, our machine would work for that size, but I never called down there to see if they would sell, because I just heard that they don't want to sell replacement parts. They want to sell new cars. That's it. They don't want to sell replacement parts. They want to sell new cars, and that's it. And once it's out of warranty, well, then buy another one.
Yeah. And I'm hearing some really, really horror stories from like even working with Tesla and their service department, and just there's not really good reviews out there.
No.
I just think Tesla's in trouble. I'm
surprised that hasn't right there just buried him. And Rivion's going to be in the same boat. That's where the big boys have the big advantage. They have the ability to service after the sale. and figure it out. I mean, GM recalled every Bolt because of there was a problem with the batteries and they catch on fire. Well,
yeah.
They've got that issue resolved.
Right.
They've got that issue resolved. They have the infrastructure and the capability to do that.
Right.
I mean, eventually his market share. Yeah, I would hop on the Tesla bandwagon on this. I don't know what stock exchange you're traded on, but I'd buy it right now. And then just as the big boys get more involved, then I'd sell, because it's just going to, as the big boys take away more of his market share, his stock price is going to go down. It's just going to happen.
I would buy when it does go down, because actually, I don't think I would buy, Dave, because I think that these little boutique places like Tesla and Rivian, and there's some other ones out there too. And
Lucid.
Yeah. So I just don't think that they're going to make it. I think Tesla also has bigger and better things to figure out. And I think that the ultimate, self-driving car type of thing, what he has planned, that might be more of a better play for him than continuing.
He would sell his technology.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other piece too, and we're going to go into part 2 in this too, but when you look at the type of technician that you're going to need is going to be a different technician also than what they have right now. So you're going to need somebody that's really big on understanding computers, because that's what it is. That's what these things are. They're freaking computers.
Yeah, and how much is that guy going to cost?
And the subscription types of services, I don't know if you've heard this.
Oh yeah,
is they're going to start selling you like, oh, you want heated seats? You get to pay for that monthly. Like, okay,
people are going to want to pay for it. Ford's talking about that with their for the fleet program, and I got a whole thing about the fleet vehicles that I've put it on LinkedIn. That good luck figuring this out. This is why the fleet companies are going to want to buy them.
Exactly, and that is exactly what is happening. Is that there's going to be a lot of complications here. It'll be very interesting to see how this whole plays out, and we've got many years to watch this happen. But before we end here, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. Please put all your comments below. Like, we want to hear, like, do you have an EV? Do you like it? What do you like? What don't you like? Send us a message at theautoauthorities.com. That's theautoauthorities.com, or comment below. If you're watching us live on the Facebook, let us know what questions you have, because I'm really curious just to see everybody's experience. I know my neighbor across the street, he loves his Tesla. But he also just spent a buttload of money on the thing for a very, very small repair. And that just doesn't sound like a lot of fun. So as we get into part 2, we're going to be sharing with you a lot about we're going to really dig deeper into this. Dave, you have anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I'm going to drop a bombshell on the commercial side of this, because I don't see how this is going to work for fleet companies. Well, I service fleets and I know how they operate.
Let's save this for the next episode. We got a lot more to talk about. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the Auto Authorities podcast. We will see you next week, and peace. Bye.